Hello, Roberto,
Hello,
and thank you for coming to our conference.
you're very welcome.
You're in Moscow third time and coming to Lua events. Do you like it here?
Yes,
Do you like this event,
yes,
if I may ask?
yes.
I'm happy to hear that. Roberto, so going to Lua questions. I know there's a Lua 5.4 in development. Do you have a specific date when it will be released?
No specific dates. We hope to have it ready this year, but this is...
When it's done?
Yes, when it's done. But I think we are almost finishing. We are still thinking whether we stop right now and then it should be out in 3 months. Something like that, but always there is dangers of some crazy idea appearing and then we deciding, oh, let's put that also in this version, but I don't think so.
It is not on the horizon.
Roberto, No.
By the way,
I've seen a few
Roberto,
static type
by the way,
companion
I've
languages
seen a few
to Lua
static type
appearing. I think with some
Lua
kind of
Yeah.
your
appearing.
participation.
I think with
And there are
some
many
kind of your
different names.
participation.
And I got a bit,
And there are many different
only
names.
two. Titan
Yes.
and
I got a
Palin.
bit-
Actually, two
So
different
only
names,
two.
only two.
Titan,
Can
Titan
you say
and
why
Palin.
you do this?
Yes.
Why
Yeah.
the two names?
Can you say why are you doing this? Why are there two names?
Why the two or why the why any?
Why any and why the two?
Well, why any is that we have this idea of, we like the idea of scripting very much, exactly two different languages, but we think that there are two big problems with scripting. One is the distance between the two languages. They are, C and Lua are very different. And second is the way the C API especially is written in C, especially because of security. It's kind of heavy in terms of performance. And so the idea was to develop a language that in some applications could replace C for the system language, and it should be more similar to Lua, both in how it handled data, so the API would be lighter, and in the syntax, etc., so the languages would look more similar. So it should be easier to translate from one language to the other. And why the two projects? It's because one is a kind of open source initiative, the Titan, there's a lot of people participating, it's like etc. And the Palin is more a research project that I have a tighter control, and so we can do a lot of experiments, and so it's much smaller, but we are very concerned about performance.
So one is community and one is yours.
Yes, kind of that. Yes, but mine is mainly for research and to kind of to prove or disprove that we can achieve what we want with that kind of design.
Yeah, I think there was another project before that typed Lua.
No, typed Lua, it's
not the same.
No, it's completely different ideas. Typed Lua, the idea was a type system for Lua, mainly to get the benefits of typing in, like security, documentation, etc. The idea for both Titan and mainly for Palin is that types are only to get performance. We just want types for that. The idea is exactly that the JITs waste a lot of effort trying to figure out the types, and a lot of effort trying to recover things if the types are wrong. So we thought, if just write the type there, and then you don't have to figure out the types, and if the types are wrong, you just raise an error, so it's much easier to implement. And probably it is an error because you're losing performance and you don't want to, so it's not always a good idea to try to recover. Maybe a type as something wrong is really wrong, and it's better to... So the main idea is that types are for performance, and if they don't give performance, just forget it.
Okay, you mentioned JIT. Is this a replacement in certain sense for a JIT?
Yes, the idea is a different approach, yes, for performance.
So I think a few years ago we discussed that you were thinking about implementing your own JIT for Lua.
Yes.
And this is where that branch of thought.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we were thinking about implementing a JIT, and we just came out the conclusion, at least for us, that it's too complicated and it's a lot of effort, and that is the problem of portability. It's a lot of effort to do one JIT, and then it's really a lot of work. And the idea of Palin is to do, for instance, we can compile to C, and then it's as portable as Lua.
Excellent. I remember, again, a few years ago, you said that the Lua 6.0 is not on the horizon at all for foreseeable future, because it is, what can you put there?
Yes, well, also because Lua had this story of a lot of incompatibility changes, and 6.0 would, of course, indicates a lot of incompatibilities, and we don't think it's a good time to break lots of compatibilities again. So even if you have a great idea for 6.0,
will it go to Palin then? That great idea?
No, probably not. The idea of Palin is to be a
As
somewhat
low as
conventional, not as low as possible, but the conventional parts of conventional parts of Lua. I mean, for instance, you don't have polymorphism. You have plain arrays and simple types. I mean, to be a language to do things that can be done efficiently. That's also another idea of Palin, and it's very difficult, very different from typed Lua. The typed Lua, the idea was to type almost every idiom that you use in Lua. And Palin, the idea is to type types are used for efficiency, both to give efficiency and to avoid doing things that can't be done efficiently. So for instance, there is this function that can receive a string or blah, 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 and there is no way to implement that efficiently, so that you cannot type it, and so it's not part of Palin. So the idea of Palin is that you can only write things that have
I can imagine.
Yes,
Sorry, complaints.
You just keep in Lua,
Okay.
because the idea to write in Palin is to get performance. If you cannot get performance, just keep in Lua.
I can imagine the complaints from the community who starting to use Palin with this approach.
Because they don't have to. I mean,
but I like Palin, but I don't have these small features as usual.
Yeah, that we are.
It will be a learning experience for them.
Yes.
Okay, and one more question about what the language is. I think about a month ago, there's in the mailing list on the GitHub issue of the Lua JIT fork called Raptor JIT, which is positioned as a separate Lua JIT implementation with space. So not Lua JIT, but Lua space JIT.
Yes.
And there was an idea or question, what if we remove Lua C API? They like to remove things from Lua JIT. And that question turned to another question. Will an implementation without Lua C API be still the Lua implementation?
Well, it's difficult to say it is Lua or it's not Lua, but of course the C API is an integral part of Lua since version 1.0. I mean, it's one of the reasons we created Lua, and a lot of the design of Lua was done around the C API to be compatible, to be easy to express in the C API. I mean, Lua exception handling modules, protected calls, a lot of things in Lua were designed around the C API, so it's a kind of strange Lua without C API.
So there's so much imprint on the language itself.
Yes, it doesn't make...
So, and you remove the reason for that.
Yes,
then,
exactly.
Then probably you have to change the language, and then it is not Lua.
You could use a different language. Why keep Lua? I mean, just, this is a nice syntax. It's not that nice. Or not that special, at least. The most special parts in Lua, I think, are not most, but many of them are strongly related to the C API.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I think that's it. And Roberto, if you will say a couple of words to the people who are just starting to use Lua. What should they do not to ask those questions? Why in Lua? Why there is no such thing and such thing in Lua? How to approach it?
See is there a video for this?
Yes.
So see the video for
See that first
my
talk.
Yeah, my first talk.
It will be published on our channel in YouTube.
Yes, so just see the video. I think it answers most of those questions.
Excellent.
Or I hope it does.
I think it does.
I think it does.
Thank you, Roberto.
More than welcome. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for inviting.
Thank you for coming.